Hi YouTube, it's Hayley. I wanted to do a video today on my labour and delivery stories. I've watched a lot of other people's labour and delivery stories and I really like listening to them, so I wanted to share my story. I was so lucky. I cannot complain about my labours at all. I did both of them natural, and I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in New Zealand we have midwives look after us during our pregnancies and our deliveries. So yeah, I had a really lovely lady named Carrie Ad, and she was great. She was an older lady. She'd been doing it for a long time. She specialised in natural births and water deliveries, so she kind of, encouraged it. She never pressured me once, but after researching it a lot, I decided that's what I wanted to try and do. I wanted to try and do it without any pain medication. I just felt like it was the best way to do it. So yeah, it was so fast. I cannot complain at all. With my son, I delivered him at 38 weeks pregnant. I went into labour on the 8th of September 2008, and my labour lasted only 3 hours and 15 minutes. He was born by 1:45 the next, in the morning. The next day, I suppose you'd say. But yeah, it was so quick. The minute I hopped into bed, 10:30 at night, I had my first contraction. So the minute I went to relax, I had my first contraction, and it happened so quickly. Within half an hour, my midwife had to come to my house and check me because I was already in a lot of pain. I was throwing up from the contractions, so I will not lie, it is hard to do it without pain relief, but yeah, I definitely do not regret it at all. So within half an hour my midwife came, checked me, and I was already 4 centimetres dilated, and she stayed with me at home for a little while as I progressed very quickly. So yeah, and then 20 minutes before I had him, we had arrived at the hospital, and I got into the birthing pool, and yeah, 10 minutes of pushing and he was out. It was so good. It was so fast. Yeah, I did not regret it at all. It was, I was really proud. I have to say, I was really proud of myself for doing it without the pain medication, because I've heard people's other stories. I'd been watching pregnancy vlogs then, and people were saying how painful it was with the medication. So yeah, I was really happy. So he was born 7 pound 5 ounces, and he was 20 inches long. My labour with my daughter was a little bit different. She, and being quite recent, I remember all the details. So on the 13th of June I went into labour with her, 2012, so she's 4 months old. Gorgeous wee thing. She's lying here next to me. I can show you at the end. But yeah, so it happened a lot differently actually. The moment I woke up in the morning, I realised I was experiencing what I thought were Braxton Hicks contractions. I'm not sure, maybe they were real contractions, but they didn't hurt. They just were, they were a little more intense than what I had experienced before with previous Braxton Hicks contractions. So yeah, they were fine, and they were quite regular. They were every 20 minutes throughout, about every 20 minutes throughout the whole day. But I just thought, it was just Braxton Hicks contractions, it was nothing, so I didn't really worry. I kind of just continued my day. I took my partner to his he was looking for a job at the time, so he had a job interview that day, so I took him to that. And you know, we just continued on as usual. We went to dinner that night at his parents' house, and his mother pointed out, you know, they're quite regular, you should really be timing them, you know, you may be in labour. So I timed them. Hey, shush. Hey. So yeah, I started timing them, and sure enough they were a lot closer together. You join in because she's fussy. But yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so we started timing them, and they'd gone down to about every 10 minutes, and they were lasting a good 40 seconds. They were at that point quite intense. They weren't painful, but I was having to stop and, you know, try and relax through them because I was so tight and, yeah, pretty uncomfortable. And just before we went home, Josh's mum Sandy was like, you know, I think tonight's the night, I think you're going to have her. I was 39 weeks, so you know, by that point I had already had Blair at 38 weeks, so I was like, I'm going to be overdue. So I kept saying to her, it's just false labour, it's nothing, you know, baby's still going to be inside my tummy tomorrow morning. But yeah, swear to God, the minute I walked in my door at home, they started to really hurt. But stupid me, I was still in denial. I continued on as usual. I got Blair dressed, put him to bed, read him his story. I decided to do housework even. I started doing the dishes, and you know, I was in complete denial. But while I was doing the dishes, because for weeks my midwife had, you know, been checking me, and she said, you know, she's still quite high up there. You know, you can expect that you may be overdue this time. But while I was doing the dishes, I definitely felt a drop. I felt, it wasn't my water breaking, but I could feel this pop, and I could feel like instant pressure down there, so I'm pretty sure she had dropped instantly. After that point, the pain started to get quite unbearable, and yeah, so I called my mum, and because my mum my mum and Josh were at both of my births, and I called my mum and I said, look, I think I might be in labour, but I'm not sure. So I pretty much called to just give her a heads up. But within, you know, 10 minutes of telling her that, I had called her back and I said, meet me at the hospital. I am definitely in labour. I'm pretty certain I'm in labour. I'm going to the hospital. It's so painful. And, you know, mum, thinking that, you know, it's probably nothing, she took her time and got gas on the way to meeting me there. So I was kind of getting ready to push, and you know, she wasn't there yet, but she made it just in time, just before I gave birth. But yeah, so I got to the hospital and I said to my midwife, you know, do you want to check me? You know, maybe I'm not in labour and I've just dragged you guys all the way to the hospital for no reason. And she was like, no, you've done this before, you know what it feels like. If you know, I'm gonna, you know, leave it up to you this time. You know, I will help you. She was saying, you know, she'll help me if I need it, and she needs, you know, I need her to step in. But it was really cool actually that I pretty much delivered my own baby all on my own, which was really cool. So, you know, within, you know, a minute or two of her saying that, I actually felt like I needed to push. So she said, you know, step into the birthing pool and, you know, we can get started. And just as I was stepping into the pool, I felt my first, you know, I started to feel amniotic fluid trickling down my legs, and I had never experienced seeing my waters break with my son. I think it must have happened when I was already in the birthing pool, but yeah, I don't know how, if my waters had broken earlier and I just hadn't felt any of it coming out, but yeah, it started to trickle down my legs just as I was hopping into the pool, and at that point it was so painful. I could barely hold myself together. I was, you know, doing the usual, saying I can't do this, I can't do it, it hurts too much. I actually remember word for word I said, why the hell did I decide to do it without drugs again? Like, this is so painful. And but yeah, so when I got into the pool I kind of resisted a little bit. I didn't want to push. It was so sore. I didn't want to push. I couldn't do it, but before long I couldn't hold anymore and I had to. And just like with Blair, about 10 minutes of pushing and to here in New Zealand. But yeah, about 10 minutes of pushing and she was out. Yeah, it was so fast. I gave birth to her at 11:15, and so I think I was only in true labour for about 2.5 hours. So it was super quick. It was so quick that I don't think it gave me enough time for my brain to actually register it. The whole time I was in denial that I was going to end up with a baby at the end of it. I thought I was just going through all this pain for nothing. But, you know, sure enough, she was here and she was born a healthy 6 pound 14 ounces, and she was also 20 inches long, so her and her brother were the same length. But yeah, so it was really good. With my son, I stayed in hospital a little bit longer. I think I stayed in for about 2 nights because I was a first time mum. So yeah, but with her I didn't want to stay at all because I had Blair and I had never been away from him for very long. So I planned to go home. I had planned with my midwife to go home straight away, but because she was born at 11:15 at night, I decided that I would stay for the night, but I'd go home the next day. So I went home at 12 o'clock the next day, and my visitors just came and saw me at home. Me and the baba. Hey, you getting tired? But yeah, I really, you know, besides all the pain, I'm glad I did it naturally. I'm so happy with how both of them went. I had no complications throughout both of my pregnancies and my labours. Yeah, and I thought, you know, from watching a lot of other people's stories who've had complications, you know, I was kind of expecting the worst with mine, but the recovery time afterwards was so quick. You know, within minutes of delivering, I was on my feet and able to walk around and look after my baby and myself. So that was really good. And yeah. Happy little family, eh? Yeah. This is Ella. She's 4 months old. She's perfect. She's so cute. She's blowing raspberries like spitting out of her mouth. It's so funny. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, I suppose leave them down below. If you have any questions, because I'm bound to have left details out, leave them down below. Thank you. Bye.